Oh, yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome in. Get the game pulled up. Here you go. Let me get chat pulled up too. Alrighty. Yo, what's going on, Austin? Welcome in. Didn't expect to see you here. Appreciate it though. Oh, and let me get the YouTube video pulled up. Make sure it's correct. Alrighty, I think I got everything set up. Still don't know why the stream elements bot says it's running. I don't think I have that, but what do I know? Anyways, I'm gonna do a quick prayer and then we can go ahead and get started. Heavenly Father, thank you for another day, another opportunity. I want to recognize here today that every day is a gift, and I want to be able to. I want to thank you for being able to use my free time in order to do what I love. Amen. Alrighty, I'm gonna go play the video and
in case there was any doubt, this game had made it
let's continue. Where we left off is we beat Flannery.
Early with Tetrises were now
this is our current team.
now, Tetris was a game of survival and endurance.
Do you have the orange berry or the okay, you have the orange berry, okay. Who has the experience share? Anyone in this party? Okay, no one in this party has experience share. Anyway, we beat Flannery, so the next level cap is level 31.
However,
there's a couple things we want to do. First, let me deposit deposit a Pokemon.
They never check that all their codes still
deposit you for now. And then we want to actually we don't want to get a single Pokemon out yet. We want to get the egg. Awesome. Alright, let me see how we're doing on the Pokeball situation. Yeah, I think we're fine. We're gonna want you out probably for Sunspore.
But upon reaching level 138, the game starts.
Alright, we can get our encounter up here. It's good.
Tetris normally has 10 color palettes.
It is a Trapinch, okay. Take it.
0 through 9 that then loop every 10 levels. This system works.
Oh no, Steak and Trapinch is pretty good defense, yeah.
Even
okay.
well beyond level 29. But by level 138, the game suffers from an integer overflow bug.
Nice, first try.
You're on a negative level. So, it pulls a color palette from an incorrect place, and the result is these bizarre looking colors. Starting from level 138 and looping every 54 levels here on out, each level has a glitched color palette. Some are stranger looking than others, but for the most part it doesn't impact the gameplay. It's just an aesthetic glitch, much like the bugged level counter. Except, some color palettes are so dark that you can barely see them on a normal TV. The first one of these is on level 146, a mixture of dark blue, dark green, and black. Programmer Greg Cannon went through all the glitched colors and assigned nicknames to them. Level 146 got the nickname Dusk, and sure enough, Dusk was the level that took Eric out. He couldn't see the pieces anymore. He probably could have
fast forward speed on
had it not been for
4
this
times.
bug.
All right.
But it marked the end of his 6.4 million point game. If someone wanted to beat Eric's score, they'd most likely not only need to make it back to the glitched colors, but also find a way to make it past Dusk. And right now,
I just never realized it's probably not the. Probably did not pick the best time in order to stream because we're just went into lightning storm, but or like warning or whatever. Oh well. Yo, what's going on, Moondrop Shadow? Showdown. I can talk, I promise. I'm doing great. We're doing our Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire hardcore Nuzlocke right now.
became the second.
I just got my desert encounter, which was a trap hinge, which is nice. We also get a fossil here. Let's go with the
both players remained well
Claw
short of
fossil.
Eric's score, and neither of them reached the glitch.
Claw fossil gang.
After these scores, there was nearly no activity at the top level for close to a
Here's
year.
one on Mega Drain.
New players managed to reach 3 and 4 million points,
Right.
but the very top remained unchanged. Eric's 6
nice.
score towered above the rest. Too daunting to try and even approach. The community needed some form of motivation. And right around then, in November 2023, they got that motivation in the form of a tournament. No Cap November.
No cap.
See,
Stop the cap.
tournament games used to be no more than 10 minutes each.
I can't believe they didn't even do
Rack up
half.
As many points as you could, then hit the kill
Shadow
score
anymore,
on
should be able to
29
call
and
that.
top out. But then rolling came
Well,
along.
at that point, I don't care.
Much longer
Fair
on the
enough.
kill streak. And tournament games turn into marathons of endurance rather than going for points. So, organizers began forcing players to stop at level 39, restoring the original purpose of the kill screen. But just for fun, in November 2023, the community decided to do one tournament under the old rules. Players would be allowed to play indefinitely at the level 29 speed, with no cap at level 39. So, to prepare for the tournament, players began practicing level 29 more than ever before. They tried to build up stamina to outlast everyone else. And it turns out, this practice is exactly what the community needed. Because in the build-up to the
Okay,
no cap
yeah,
tournament,
alright, we're done with the desert here. We can go.
in over a year, new players
Now we gotta
reached
train for
colors.
Norman. I'm trying to think of what the best place to do that is.
Gerald Freeman reportedly got a score of 6.321 million points. In true Tetris fashion,
Here, while I'm here, actually.
also short of the world record.
Oops.
Instead,
While I'm
the
here,
score
actually,
we're
let's
going to look
go
at
ahead and
was one performed by Pixel Andy on November 17th,
hatch this egg real quick.
2023. Andy had been a top-tier player for years now.
Hey, good. Got your
Sitting in the top
sword
10
Nuzlocke on your second
and holding
attempt.
the record. But during tournament
You just,
practice,
oh, okay.
he'd got
You got really lucky.
now he was able to take a run
Well,
at the
I'm
top,
doing a hardcore Nuzlocke series, so I will get to Pokemon Sword and Shield eventually.
clearing level after level.
I just gotta pull a lot of games to get through
Then
first.
60, then 80, and then 100.
Wait, I have the
Pixel
bike on,
Andy was
or I have the
shredding
bike. Why
to
am I
close
not?
the glitched colors. The world record was getting closer, but he'd likely
That's
still
it.
have to beat Dusk. Passing level 120, Andy was still rolling. But then, just 8 levels away from glitched colors, he
There we go.
dropped. Thankfully,
Alright,
his
what are we gonna
stats
name the
still
why
up,
not?
and there was a quick recovery. But it was a sudden reminder of how
I never
quickly
know what to name it.
get out of hand.
I'm gonna name it
Level
Glove.
138,
I don't know.
Andy entered the glitched colors.
'Cause I normally name the Wobbuffet punching bag or something like that, so.
Played through the bizarre looking colors, and then was moments
I don't know how you
away
get off
from
this
level
bike.
146.
I
It
do,
was
but I
time
also
for
don't.
Dusk. And yet,
There we go.
when he got
Okay,
there, I don't think
yeah, I
he
gotta
was ready
think
for
about
it.
where the best place to grind is.
E00 lines, what is it?
Probably,
Wait, I actually can't see, I know.
in that town up in,
Yeah, I
in
can't
the
see.
left.
What are these? Who made these colors, bro? Why
Probably
would
the
you
best
do that?
option.
There we go, that's...
He did it, and was immediately treated with a much brighter level 147. This was it. Pixel Andy was locked in. He'd survived Dusk's color palette, and now there was no telling how long he could play for. Until he made it to the very next level.
What? What is going on? Wait, the colors. I can't see it.
Uh,
No!
she was
I couldn't see it.
Lantern,
On my
Drift
screen.
Glam,
It just went dark.
hold on.
Yeah, Dusk isn't the
Zombie.
only hard color palette. Just 2
Nice.
levels
What,
later,
are you doing a normal Nuzlocke or are you doing a special kind of Nuzlocke?
you encounter Charcoal. It features a mix of white, dark gray, and black, and it's even harder than Dusk. After playing 147 levels beautifully, and
Oh wait, Alan, I have to
not
decide what
he'd made it over 6.4 million points, but he topped out just 57,000 shy of Eric's world record. A heartbreaking finish. Now, this was a new record for the highest level reached, 2 levels higher than Eric.
I have to decide what I want my
Were a problem.
last Pokemon would be for the Norman fight. Solrock could be good, but it has faint attack, so it's not great. Maybe I think I would do Numel, but I think Numel evolves at level 32.
Someone had to find a solution.
No, 33. So yeah, no, I couldn't get a camera up before, so I don't want to do that. I could do. What about Spoink? Does Spoink evolve?
And since then, all he'd done was improve.
No. You also don't evolve in time. I could also do Gyarados actually.
In that November, he won the
could do Gyarados. I could do. Yeah, I think Gyarados honestly might be my best bet.
Now, despite being 4th on the score leaderboard, Fractal was considered to be Tetris's best overall player, and he was also the most likely candidate to break Eric's record. Fractal had some history with the glitched colors. Back in 2022, he technically became the first player to ever reach them, but he did so on the PAL version of the game, which runs 17% slower. This made the kill screen speed easier and helped Fractal survive. When Eric reached the glitched colors on NTSC, he got the credit and attention, deservedly so, since doing it at a faster speed was much harder. Now in 2023, Fractal tried to prepare himself for Dusk and Charcoal. He practiced these levels extensively, making sure he wouldn't be caught off guard by their dark color palettes. But still, for Fractal,
the rules are the normal Nuzlocke rules, but added 3 things. Oh.
Been there, done that. He was the world champion and was probably the best player in the community. So, Fractal didn't just want the world record. Instead, he set his sights even higher. He wanted to reach NES Tetris's true kill screen, the game crash. As mentioned earlier, the deeper you play in Tetris, the more it breaks. Initially, these are purely aesthetic glitches, but eventually, the game deteriorates even more. On level 30, the level counter breaks. On level 138, the colors glitch. And on level 155, the game can become completely unplayable. NES Tetris is an old game. Its code works very well during normal gameplay.
Tournament this fight won't count for deaths. Level caps won't matter to me.
And as the level climbs higher, the game's code gets very inefficient with
that was over level.
Eventually, it takes so long to update the score that the game has to draw the graphics when it's not supposed to. And as a result, it tries to read RAM as code. Depending on what it reads, if a stop command is generated, then the game
that makes me worried because I'm not going to be able to have those rules when I get to that game.
This crash doesn't automatically happen at a certain level. Various conditions have to be met, taking into account what level you're on, what piece you have, how many lines you clear, and more. Hydrant Dude created a spreadsheet showing all the spots where the game can crash on an unmodified Tetris cartridge. And it turns out the first place the game crash can occur is by clearing a single line on the transition into level 155. This crashes the game every time. However, by this point, no top player was using an original Tetris card. Instead, they were all playing on TetrisGym, a modified ROM that completely changed the scoring mechanism. And as a result, the game crash doesn't occur on TetrisGym. So if you wanted to go for a game crash, you had to use an original cartridge with no uncap code. That meant your score would have to be manually calculated
I don't want counter.
A major pain. But Fractal knew that it would be worth it. For years, level 29 had been called Tetris's kill screen, but it wasn't a kill screen anymore. Players could survive on that speed for a long time. But this game crash was the true kill screen of Tetris. There was no way to play onward once the game crashed. For 34 years, every game of NES Tetris ever played had ended in the player topping out. Now, Fractal had the chance to change that. He could be the first person to beat Tetris. And he wasn't that far away. The world record had already made it to level 148. If Fractal could just make it
okay, what is going on? How am I missing so much? What the frick? Seriously?
155, he would crash the game. It was within his reach. But standing in his way was Charcoal, the level that nobody had beaten before. If Fractal couldn't find a way to beat it, then he'd have no hope of crashing the game. Over the next few weeks, Fractal practiced extensively. He came up with strategies of staying alert on the dim levels. He built his consistency with rolling, and eventually, he felt he had a good chance to make it past Charcoal. Finally, it was time. Fractal's
Oh no, I just realized I made a big mistake. I haven't been checking the Lunan for items. Ah, crap.
Streaming attempts to crash the game. Fractal went live and started playing. But just an hour into his first night of attempts, someone else shocked the world. This is Blue Scooty, and he had just made it past Charcoal in a live game. Blue Scooty was an elite player, but not considered to be quite on Fractal's level. Just weeks ago, he'd finished 3rd place in the Tetris World Championship that Fractal won. But with his personal best at 5.2 million, the world record was technically within reach. And now, he'd just become the first ever player to make it past Charcoal. Scooty was able to hold it together for a few more levels, but ended up topping out in level 153.
Not great.
His final score, 6.6 million, a new world record. All of a sudden, Fractal had serious competition in getting the first game crash. Scooty was just 2 levels short.
Do I have a strength user on my team currently?
He was playing on Tetris Gym, so even if he'd made it to 155, the game wouldn't have crashed.
I don't.
Now,
Okay, I'll just strength the Gyarados then.
How close he was to making history, and he too switched to playing on the original cartridge. It was now a 2-way race for the first game crash. The world champion Fractal against the newcomer Blue Scooty. The pressure was on for Fractal, and he was more determined than ever. After seeing Scooty's new record, he continued with his attempts, and within hours, he had another chance. He made it to level 130. Just 25 levels away from the game crash. But on level 133, it started to get dicey. He misdropped a couple pieces, and his stack piled high. Fractal decided to go for a risky maneuver to save.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep on doing Loom.
Last moment, rotated to fit in this gap.
Just for now. Just until I guess I'll Great Loom maxed out, and then I'll probably take the experience off of Gyarados.
Just like that, it was over. 22 levels from the crash. All he could do was keep trying. The very next day, he got another one going. He played beautifully for half an hour, and eventually made it right back to level 130. But just like yesterday, it started to unravel. A long bar drought combined with misdrops caused his stack to rise. Fractal hadn't come all this way just to top out in level 130 again. He had to find a way to dig out of this.
I regret nothing.
Just incredible work. The game was alive. 20 levels till the game crash.
Are you ready? I might not leave. Oh, okay.
Game over on level 137, just 18 levels short of the crash. Any of these games could have been the one. Fractal couldn't stop now. He kept his stream going, and within hours, he found himself on another promising game. He once again passed level 100, then made it to level 130,
Loom is at the level cap now.
Previous games had fallen apart, but this time, things were different. He kept his stack low, and ended up reaching the glitched colors. 17 levels to go until the game crash. Fractal powered through the different color palettes, and he knew what was coming next. Dusk and Charcoal. He'd mentally prepared himself for them and felt there was a good chance he'd make it through. Moments later, Fractal entered level 146. It was time for Dusk.
Oh my god. No, I got completely blindsided. Man.
Even though he knew what was coming, Fractal was still caught off guard. He instantly misdropped and couldn't recover. This game was enough to beat Blue Scooty back for the score world record, but it remained just 9 levels short of the crash. Finally, Fractal had to stop for the day. That was 3 close calls in just 24 hours. No one could say he wasn't trying, but today, it wasn't happening. He stopped his stream, went to sleep, and the next day he started up attempts again. But just a short while into this stream, his
Bag is
chat
full.
let him know
My bag be full of that.
Scooty was on an amazing run.
Wait, what is Scooty at right now? Oh my god.
He had made it all the way to the glitched colors, level 138, 17 levels from the crash. He was quickly approaching Dusk and Charcoal, but Scooty had had success beating those levels before. Now, with the pressure of a game crash on the line, he'd have to do it again. Blue Scooty made it to level 146, stayed calm, and began playing Dusk.
Oh, Nugget is. I was like, what in the world?
One down.
Why do I not have that?
Charcoal was next, the level that nobody else had beaten before.
I don't know if I healed or not.
If he could beat Charcoal
Didn't.
right
It's fine
now,
though.
he had a really good chance of getting the crash. This was happening. Blue Scooty was now on level 149, 6 levels from the crash. Fractal couldn't believe what he was watching, and he was cheering him on.
Come on, kill it, kill it, kill it.
Blue Scooty had adrenaline coursing through him, but he knew what he had to do. Hold it together for just a few more levels. He kept playing, rolling the pieces into place with no margin for error. The level climbed higher, and finally, he arrived at level 154. Just one more step for the game crash. Transition into level 155 on a single line clear. The strategy here was to keep the stack as low as possible to make single line clears easy. For 4 lines, all went according to plan. But then, he misdropped an S piece. His stack started to pile up, but Scooty stayed calm in the face of danger. He continued getting single line clears, until he was just 1 line away from the transition. He now needed 1 more single line clear. But then the game gave him a long bar, and Scooty, perhaps out of habit, took the bait. Scooty had made it to the glitched colors. He'd beaten Dusk and Charcoal. He'd held it together the entire way, and at the last possible moment, he'd still missed the crash. He was flustered, but he knew it might not be over. There were still other places the game could crash. Scooty didn't know exactly where, but he hoped that if he kept going, maybe the game would crash at some point.
Just please crash.
Scooty played through the next couple levels. He did beautifully given the weight of what had just happened, but the game didn't crash. But in level 157, it was too much. He started misdropping, and it was clear that he wasn't going to be able to recover this. The game would be over in a matter of seconds. Out of desperation, Scooty threw a J piece to the left, hoping that a line clear would somehow
Okay, by
crash
just one
the
shot.
game.
Maybe not guaranteed, but
He did it! He did it! Wait! He got it! Oh my god! Let's go!
Blue Scooty had defeated Tetris. This is the game's true kill screen. It's where Tetris gives up and says you win. Had Scooty missed this one line clear, it's unlikely he would have been able to get another one before topping out. And he also had a bit of luck on his side. According to Hydrant Dude's spreadsheet, this line clear only had a 73% chance of crashing the game. But it all
only a 73% chance is really funny.
Blue Scooty crashed the game. But even crazier than the achievement itself,
And it got him on L in the end.
happened in the next few days. A Game Scout published a video.
Oh no, did one of your Pokemon die? What? Which one was that one again?
Viral. 10 million views in a matter of days. Soon, media
Oh, I thought you.
outlets were
I
picking
thought,
up on
I
the
thought I knew
story.
it though.
Articles were written. News segments were broadcast. Blue Scooty was interviewed on morning news shows. And then he got to meet the creator of Tetris.
What? That name sounds familiar. I think maybe you mentioned him the other day. Wait, is your Rabombi? Oh, okay, I see it. Dude, that sucks, dude. I love Rabombi.
Was Fractal. This was supposed to be his achievement. He'd spent years looking into the crash, helping discover what conditions were needed and what caused it. And after years of buildup, somebody else had swooped in and beaten him to it. Now, credit to Scooty. He'd done an amazing job closing out his games. But Fractal had come so close to getting it first. Now, he could only watch as Scooty's accomplishment made headlines around the world. Fractal had to face the facts. He could no longer be the first person to get the game crash, and he wasn't going to get the wave of attention that Scooty got, but he could still finish what he started. So, Fractal continued trying to get his own game crash. It took a couple weeks, but on January 3rd, 2024, he cleared a single line on the transition into level 155.
7, 8, 9.
Finally got it, nice. Bro finally beat
This wasn't the
Tetris.
first game crash, but it was the world record for the earliest game crash. Level 155
Good way to think about it.
versus Scooty's level 157. And while there weren't news stories or Good Morning America interviews for Fractal, the Tetris community knew what he had accomplished. And now, hopefully all of you do too.
British P hit it so. Oh, dude. Confusion is like one of the worst things about Pokemon, like for real. Confusion sucks.
Thanks to the game crash,
Dude, honestly, that's my biggest problem too. Is that like oftentimes in Nuzlocke, I'll just take unnecessary risks for no reason.
more than ever before. But now that the game
I don't know why I
crash
do
is out of
that.
the way, people turned their attention back to the score record. It had become a bit lost in all of this, but the highest score of all of these games was Blue Scooty's first game crash, 6.85 million points. And it was beatable. Scooty was playing as safely as he could to make it to the crash, so he only got 3 Tetrises after hitting level 29, leaving lots of points on the table. If someone had the guts to go for a Tetris after reaching the glitched colors, it would be worth over 166,000 points. Land a few of those, and you could crush the score record. Several players ended up going for the record here, but the player who ultimately broke it was Pixel Andy. On January 11th,
Alright, finally got Gyarados caught up.
29, and for a while, he wasn't going for any Tetrises. Then, they started to pour in.
Good choice.
I need to switch out. Well, the big fireball almost killed ball. Oh my gosh. Who are you fighting?
Yes, man.
By level 130, Andy had already broken the score record before even reaching the glitched colors. But he didn't stop there. He continued.
Guys, if my stream goes off at a random time, it was probably the lightning.
Hyper-aggressive
Hop?
playstyle
Oh.
was working. His game could end at any moment.
Do it, Hop.
But in the meantime, he was racking up the points. Finally, in level 148, Andy topped out. His final score was 8.9 million points. More than a 2 million point improvement to the world record. That's the power of landing Tetrises late. Scaling comes into play, and your score adds up fast. Now, the community had a dilemma. Andy's score record landed so many late Tetrises that beating it by scoring more points wasn't too likely. Instead, players would have to beat his record by playing further than he did. And with the game crash just a few levels away, there didn't seem to be much room there. So, they had two options for how to proceed. Option number 1, crash dodging. Starting on level 155, many levels have some trigger that can cause a game crash. Initially, it's how many lines you clear, and in later levels, it's what pieces you drop. However, these conditions had all been mapped out, so in theory, someone could memorize what to avoid on each level, then dodge crashes to keep playing indefinitely. However, the combination of playing at this speed in the first place, with memorizing conditions on every level, and then executing it at the same time, it would be a lot, even for these amazing
Okay, we got Pel Prep.
But there was also an easier option. Players could simply go back to playing on Tetris Gym, which patched the crash, and not have to worry about crash dodging at all. Now, some might argue that this isn't exactly fair, because if you played Tetris on the original cartridge, the crashes would all be present. Why are you allowed to just patch them out like this? There's a wide range of opinions on this topic, and you can come to your own conclusion about what's fair. But there's no denying that removing crashes does simplify things quite a bit, and ultimately, players had been using the Gym ROM for years. The race for the game crash was a fun one-off challenge, but now, most agreed it was back to playing on Tetris Gym. And with the crash patched and players breaking new boundaries, these guys had a new race in front of them. The race for 10 million points. The Classic Tetris YouTube channel began hosting weekly Race to 10 Million events, where Blue Scooty, Fractal, Pixel Andy, and a few others all played to break the score record. On top of that, there was a community-funded bounty of $2,600 for the first 10 million point game. There was a lot of anticipation, and with so many top players trying, expectations were just as high. However, weeks passed, and not only was there no 10 million point game, but nobody even improved their high score. Playing long enough to score 10 million points required immense concentration, and when factoring in the pressure to be the first to cross a barrier, and the cash bounty at stake, each good game was like a mental battle. Fractal, Blue Scooty, Pixel Andy, Dog, Gerald Freeman, these guys were all good enough to reach 10 million, yet week after week they came up empty. But then, on the night of March 11th, 2024, someone started messaging players in the Classic Tetris Monthly Discord server. These were from another top player, Alex Thatch. And
You should be holding the soft sand, right? Yeah, sure.
This was a new world record and just short of the 10 million point barrier. But it was also unrecorded. Now, Alex was definitely a good player, holding a few various records over the years. He used to be one of the fastest hyper tappers, and was good at rolling too, but had never officially held the score record before. He was claiming to have crushed his recorded PB, offline and without video proof. Alex said he was practicing late at night while listening to Moist Critical, and out of nowhere he got this crazy game. The general consensus was that the score was likely legit, but without a video it couldn't be considered official. So, the very next day, Alex Thatch began streaming attempts to prove himself. Now, expecting to match or beat yesterday's score was unreasonable, but if he could put up some decent scores on command, that would help substantiate his 9.9 million claim. Alex sat down and started playing some Tetris, but little did he or anybody watching know that this was going to be the greatest game of Tetris ever performed. It started off like any other. He reached level 29 and decided to play conservatively in hopes of getting a deep game.
Slow and steady, like, wins the race, you know?
He kept climbing through levels, and for the most part, his stack stayed very low. And eventually, he passed.
Alright, we got our team to level 31. We are ready to take on... We're ready to take on Norman.
But stayed very calm. On level 138, he entered the glitched colors, and he was cruising. As he reached the dark palettes, he echoed the words Fractal used to lock himself in.
Eyes wide open. Eyes wide open. Eyes wide open!
It worked. Alex played through the 150s, and at this moment, if he was playing on an original cartridge, the game would have likely crashed. But since he was on Tetris Gym, he was able to keep going. And all the while, Alex just kept talking.
Yes! Redemption! This is redemption! Oh my god! And we're gonna keep fighting for this 10 mil. We need to win that bounty. You got nothing on me. I'm gonna keep going. I'm going for the 10 million. And I'm gonna get it.
This was actually a brilliant strategy. The main thing stopping players on these games was themselves. Nerves caught up to them, and they just couldn't hold it together. So to counter that, Alex distracted himself. He hyped himself up, and as a result, his nerves melted away.
Give it! Bring it on! Come on!
On level 185, Alex crossed 10 million points. This was now the official world record, and he'd earned the $2,600 bounty. And then, he crossed level 190, and then level 200. All the while, he wouldn't be quiet.
Bro, his color's got nothing on me. I like Lily.
On level 216, Alex landed a Tetris. It was worth over
So ups?
260,000 points.
What does that mean?
How is
Oh,
this
upset?
even happening?
Did you just lose Rabami or did you lose
Does
more
Tetris
Pokemon?
have an end? Well, it sort of does. You can play all the way to level 255, and then the level counter rolls over to 0.
Oh shoot, I didn't even think about the gym trainers. I'm gonna have to bring in a Pokemon.
For years, it was known to exist, but wasn't considered at all viable.
To give the
Alex might have a shot at it right now.
screen share so I don't get over level.
However, there was still one thing standing between Alex and the rebirth. Level 235. In NES Tetris, levels last 10 lines. However, due to a bug, level 235 is a bit different. It
Build
lasts
Rabami, Drifloon, Sudowoodo, and Lantern? Dude, that's
It's
brutal.
an absolute marathon to make it through, especially with the dark
That
green
sucks,
color
man.
palette it has on Tetris Gym. So when Alex entered level 235 moments later, he knew he
Sleep.
had a tough task ahead of him.
Oh wait, what?
That's
Wait,
good.
this is the 800 lines
But at least you have something, you know.
He'd cleared 10 lines so far.
Oh, you got PC Pokemon? Well, that's good. Well, I figured you did.
First time
I mean,
all game, Alex
I'd be
thought
shocked if
it
you
was
didn't,
over.
honestly.
He struggled to see the pieces and needed to use all his
I don't think we have a
focus.
black belt, do we?
For 70 more
That'd be
lines,
great.
all went well. But eventually, he
Oh, we have black glasses. You have Quick Claw. I guess I'll give that to someone. I guess I'll give, I
Oh
don't
my
know.
god!
Give the Quick Claw, I guess, I don't know.
What has... Oh my god! This is redemption! Day 1 of 10 million? Look what
Just
we
hope,
got.
alright. You just let me know what Pokemon you have.
This just completely blew every
Oh,
other
wow,
game
speed time?
ever played
That's
out
funny.
of the water. To put it in perspective, prior to this game, few people had ever cleared more than 1,400 lines in a game. Alex had just cleared 2,374 lines, and his game lasted a full hour. He had figured out the secret formula to surviving in Tetris. Just distract yourself and don't care. A few weeks later, Alex raised the score slightly to 16.7 million, and to this day, nobody else has beaten his score. But there's no doubt that the rebirth is coming. Alex, Blue Scooty, Pixel Andy, and others have all been trying to make it there. They're certainly all capable of doing it. And sure, it's gonna be a slog to make it through the 810 lines of level 235. But if there's one thing we can be sure of, Tetris players are constantly redefining what's possible. And before long, one of these guys will achieve the rebirth. The only question is, who's gonna do it first?
Your mom. No. I'm not gonna do it first.
For a behind-the-scenes look at how I made this video and storylines that I couldn't include, join my
Okay, so who do you have? You have a grass poison type and a electric type still. Ooh, I do like Durant. Durant's good usually. I think I'll go with Durant. Bumblebee or Palpitoad. Either of those would be good. You know to add, never mind. Fair enough. I don't know what gym you have next, so that does not help things, that's for sure. All right, next.
Holding fewer. This is Mario Kart DS.
Anywho,
it's
I
classic. Online racing.
Have Norman now, and I'm scared for my life.
Non-stop action. It was extremely popular in its heyday, with millions of gamers racing against each other. But that was nearly 20 years ago.
Oh, Rockton's next. Alright, I need to pull up Norman's team. I think he only has normal and dark moves.
Mario Kart DS.
I'm not mistaken.
And yet, there's still a group of gamers who never stopped playing it.
Yeah, he's only got normal and
there remain competitive leaderboards for Mario Kart DS.
It doesn't mean it's gonna be an easy gym though. What statuses can he give me? He can put me to sleep.
And the best player of all is awarded the title of Mario Kart DS.
Yeah, he can put me to sleep. That's pretty much it, actually.
For the
Okay.
past 20 years, the champ
So I guess we want to give Chesto berries out to everyone.
As the best Mario Kart DS players have come and gone. This is the history of the Mario Kart DS champion.
I do have a team for bulk up, which I might want to give to Machoke or Machoke or Breloom.
And now a word from the
It's just, do I want to use those here?
Red Magic. If you like
I guess such a good TM. I don't know if I want to use it in just in case.
And there's no better way to do that than with Red Magic's new.
Let me look up who am I more likely to use on my final team, Breloom or Machamp?
For starters, the
I
Red
say that
Magic
like that.
9S Pro has incredible specs. With a
Breloom's faster,
processor and 16 gigabytes
but Machamp's
of RAM.
bulkier.
It has a beautiful, bright 6.8-inch screen with up to 512 gigabytes of storage. There's also no need to worry about it heating up while you're gaming. The 9S Pro has a cooling gel that results in a nearly 40-degree temperature drop in the CPU.
I don't know, fast
So, no
might be
matter
bulky.
how
One.
powerful the
Breloom
game
has
is running, your phone will stay
6
basically
weaknesses. Machamp only has
The
3.
battery life
2
is also
actually.
incredible,
But
lasting
also
up to
less
56
resistances.
hours on a single charge.
Ah.
The Red Magic 9S Pro is equipped with what you need to play nearly anything, including
I think we're gonna give it to Machamp.
vibration and 520 hertz.
Well, actually, if one of them can learn bulk up via level up,
This phone has classic gaming wallpaper.
that would be a good way to.
play.
Hey,
On the
you do
phone
not get bulk up via
standby,
level up. Let
you
me
can
see
play a
about you.
quick game of Tetris or Snake to pass the time. If you want the best phone for gamers on the go, pick up the Red Magic
Machoke
9S
doesn't,
Pro.
so I think it's safe to
There's
assume
4
Machamp
colors to
won't
choose
either.
from. I have
But I'll check
some,
anyway.
But they're all cool. Click the link in the description or pinned comment
Yeah, no.
to get your phone today. Thanks again to Red
I
Magic
think we'll give it to
for doing this
Machoke.
video.
Forget Lear, I guess. Alright, now I just gotta decide who I want to lead with. So his first Mon
November 14th, 2005,
is
Mario Kart
slacking
DS
with
is
Encore,
released
Facade, Yawn, and Feint Attack.
and launched right alongside it is the Mario Kart DS time
I think we
trial
want to lead
update.
with Machoke.
These
be
fan
honest.
sites existed for each game in the series. Players could submit their fastest times.
Or maybe I could go out to
compare against
Gyarados
others around the globe.
and then go out to
Mario Kart
Breloom.
DS has 32 tracks. Each
No,
track
he's got
has a
Facade.
single lap
We don't want to
and
status
a
him.
3-lap race.
So we could just do
that's a total of
Gyarados and
64
Machoke, I
time races to
guess.
compete. Players submitted their times via email on Yahoo groups.
Yeah, I think leading with Gyarados is the best option here. All right.
Was the owner of the time trial.
Make sure to save again.
Jones. He was a competitive Mario Kart 64.
All right, I'm really freaking nervous, but let's do this fight. Oh my gosh, Norman's usually freaking scary.
But since he was the first to submit, he became the world
Okay,
champion by
got Intimidate off.
November 15th, 2005. However,
should we go for Bite or Strength? Let me take a look at slacking stats. Let me see if its special defense is better than its physical defense. Okay, no, special defense is worse. And I kind of want to go for flinches, so we're gonna go for Bite here. Oh, that did not do that much.
Very highly in each game.
You got a crit, of course you did.
He was also really good at Mario Kart DS.
Oh, this isn't good.
He started sending in world records.
Oh boy, that's like worst case scenario right there.
How did Michael get fast times in Mario Kart DS? Well,
I didn't want to
like
click
most
cancel.
games in the series, it's important to take good lines with your
No,
cards
I did.
and avoid
Okay,
any
I wanted to see what
solo
the
This
moveset was
same
before I
principle
switch out, but I guess we're
applies
just
to
switching out
every
then.
Mario Kart game. But Mario Kart DS has another important.
Oh, I forgot you have Protect.
seen elsewhere.
Oh my
Because
gosh,
when
that's
the game was
perfect.
released, players discovered that the game's mini turbo system.
I can just protect on turns that they can attack.
Mechanic known as snaking.
Oh my gosh, Protect coming in clutch.
By hopping into a direction, then rocking the D-pad left and right twice, you charge a mini turbo that gives you a burst of speed. Now, in other Mario Kart games, these mini turbos take a while to build up and are designed to be used mostly on long turns.
I'm actually gonna let him yawn me here because I have the Chesto Berry anyway, so it's fine.
Quicker. They take just 3/4 of a second to build up, and the boost you get can last longer than this.
I misclicked.
So, you can just non-stop charge mini turbos through the whole race.
But at least I knocked him out.
Between left and right mini turbos.
Our next is Vigoroth.
You have to constantly rock your thumb back and forth on the D-pad.
Crap, I would have used PP up on Protect if I remembered to have Protect. Ah! That's so frustrating. Alright, next Mon
This is Mario Kart
is
DS'
you have Slash, Facade, Encore, and Feint Attack. Isn't that the same moveset?
Thanks to his mastery of
Yeah, it's
snaking,
literally the exact same
Michael's
moveset, except
experience
it
with
has
Mario
Slash
Kart,
instead of
Michael Freed
Yawn.
quickly became the game's best player. By November 19th,
Okay,
he actually held all 64 of Mario Kart DS's world records. Now, this was only 5
It might be
days after
best to sack
launch,
off
so
Linoon or Magic
competition was
Gyarados
limited.
here.
But those who submitted times could not keep up with Michael. On November 22nd, a player named Christopher McMullen managed to wrestle the champ title away from Michael, but it was very brief. Later that same
Let me check out
day, Michael took back the
Norman's
title
second slacking real quick.
and then
We're making a
quickly made
decision.
it back to 58 out of 64
Focus.
world records. This dominance continued for weeks.
Alright, I think we're gonna go out to... Wait, hold on, you have Facade, right? Yeah, so we don't want to paralyze. So don't want to paralyze. Alright, let's just go out to Machoke here, I guess.
Essentially, ever since the game's release,
Why do you have to get a crit?
he began to see some competition.
This is not good.
His record total started to fall, down to only 38 out of 64. Even though he
I just gave him a freaking gold medal in being able to defeat me.
Slowly losing ground.
Oh crap, we're definitely losing one here. We're gonna go out to Gyarados. Intimidate.
By the end of January, a man named Miguel Rodriguez had moved into second place. Michael and Miguel were total opposites. While Michael was a seasoned Mario Kart veteran, Miguel had no competitive Mario Kart experience. He just happened to be really good at Mario Kart DS. Throughout January, Miguel
You're like, girl, it's nature, what is it?
Record total. By the end of the month,
Alright, last Mon is slacking here. Oh boy, I'm so scared. I feel like I'm definitely gonna lose another Mon.
That being said,
Maybe we should go out to... Let's go out to... Pelipper. I don't mind losing Pelipper as much.
It comes down to something a bit more balanced. Average finish. Average finish is essentially your average ranking across all tracks. The lower your average finish, the better. For instance, if half of your times were world records, but the other half were all in 50th place, your average finish would be 25. This score is much worse than a player who has no world records, but is in second place on each track. That's an average finish of just 2. This system rewards...
Nice, okay, we can just send him into Accuracy Oblivion here.
World records, but to get good times on every last course. Any weak time severely hurt.
Except for Fan Attack, which is I'm fine with, honestly.
Even though Michael had a solid world record lead, Miguel had the more balanced time.
Go for Water Gun just because I'm afraid of.
His average finish had nearly caught up to Michael.
All right, we beat Norman. Oh man, dude, Norman is freaking scary, dude.
Despite holding fewer world records, for the first time since the day after the game's release.
Oof, Modest Nature, that sucks.
New champion.
Dude, we beat Norman and we only lost Gyarados and Pelipper, dude. No, it sucks, but it is what it is. It is what it is.
Briefly took the top spot, but the very next day, Miguel tied with Mark Jones for the shortest reign in Mario Kart DS history. A few weeks later, Michael became champion for the second time. However,
all right, well, we got to get more Pokemon out.
Reign would be much shorter than his first. Just 2 weeks later.
All right. So the next gym trainer is flying type, so we want Pokemon that aren't weak to flying.
Who would go on to be one of the greatest players in Mario Kart
we could
DS
do
history.
Solrock.
Thomas Bolton.
You don't get Flygon until level 45, right?
Thomas had been playing the game for months, but he was primarily a Wi-Fi player. This
Yeah,
game mode was introduced
so it's not really a
in
scenario
Mario
with
Kart DS
Rampage.
and allowed you to race against others online. Thomas
Might want to, we'll just Solrock it for now, I guess, and
became simply amazing at it. It got to the point where he could beat literally
I don't know, I guess
any player
Numel
in the world in a head-to-head race.
for now.
But even though he'd mastered that game,
Yeah, we both lost 2 auto trades. That's
barely
funny.
touched time
Good
trials.
point.
As it turned out, his Wi-Fi racing skills translated perfectly. Thomas finally joined the site in mid-2006 and immediately began setting world records.
Oh, you had the
4-day
quick
stretch
collection.
in mid-June, he set 10 world records, causing him to overtake.
All right, well, we're gonna have a
Michael
bunch
as
of,
the new time trial champion. Part of the key was
I'm gonna have a
always
bunch of.
racing. It had made Thomas
Did I
an
heal?
extremely
I did not.
consistent player. While other champions
encounters
had
to get. I'm
run
gonna be able to get a
tracks
bunch of
over
encounters.
and over to obtain world records, Thomas needed to be consistent on all tracks to always beat racers online. So when he finally started playing time trials, the world records came flying in. This
We do have
was too
Silk
much
Scarf.
for
I don't know who I'd want to give that to right now.
They could maybe take a record here and there with heavy grinding, but Thomas's
What is
consistency was
Solrock's
off the
moveset right now?
He'd surpassed everyone else in the world, and not Michael Freed nor anyone else could catch him. On July
Alright, whatever. Let's go get
21st,
Surf.
The weekly news update was titled Bolton Unchallenged. He remained alone, easily on top of the average finish leaderboard. Although Thomas seemed invincible just weeks ago, Sasha
Can you counter here is
was
Meryl?
a meteoric
Take it.
rise. Out of nowhere, he went from setting a record every few weeks to setting them nearly every single day. Thomas was playing too, but he couldn't keep up. He was still number one for now, but if something didn't change fast, Sasha was about to pass him to become champ. Thomas did his best, but Sasha's records kept pouring in. And after a flurry of activity from Sasha in mid-August, a new champion was crowned. What had just happened? Mario Kart DS hadn't seen a player like Sasha before. Sure, guys like Michael Freed dominated the record table early on, but competition was much weaker back then. Now, even against a player of Thomas Bolton's caliber, Sasha was able to build a big lead that just kept growing. By the end of October, Sasha had 28 site records, Thomas had 17, and nobody else had more than
17,
6.
38.
Sasha and Thomas were a cut above the rest, but one was clearly ahead of the other. Sasha was not only good, but also ruthless. Whenever Thomas posted that he'd set a new record, Sasha took that as a call to action, and within days or even just hours, Sasha always beat him back. It happened time and time again. There was almost something arrogant about Sasha's posts. They often had a smiling emoji, like he was daring you to try and beat one of his times. And if you did, he'd make sure it didn't last long. Other site members were absolutely invested in Thomas and Sasha's rivalry. There was a lot of debate about who was truly better. Most were on Thomas's side. They said the only reason Sasha was ahead was because he played 20 times as much as him. They said Sasha had no life.
Yeah, we want to go do the side quest because not only do we get an encounter from it,
Leaderboard didn't lie.
but we
Sasha was the champ, not Thomas. And by mid-November, Sasha had become the longest reigning champ in Mario Kart DS history.
can get an encounter.
But in December, Thomas
Or
made
we
another
can see him for
push
Thunderbolt,
for
so
the
I
top spot. And this time,
Alright, counter
he
here's
took a
Magnemite.
different
Awesome.
approach.
Take it.
Rather than chasing Sasha's records, he'd focus on all his other times, trying to get all 64 of his times into the top 3. This could still lower his average finish enough to make him champ, despite potentially not taking any new records. Sasha wouldn't have any world records to beat back. It was a smart approach, and it paid off. Thomas lowered his times on track after track, and by December 18th, Sasha's 131-day reign had come to an end.
You want a ground type move?
And Sasha beat him back. Despite actively playing, Thomas could only hold the top spot for 8 days. Sasha rattled off a few
Seriously, I couldn't
records,
run?
and it was
Maybe I
all
should
over. He could do things that Thomas...
Well, none of my Pokemon are really fast, actually.
And it just kept going. Sasha's world records came in on a daily basis.
Wow, Breloom's actually my second fastest Pokemon. That's really sad.
As 2007 rolled
I know, I got
around,
super
it
potions
seemed
and
like there'd be
stuff.
no hope of ever dethroning him. Thomas had missed his one opportunity. But then, in early 2007, there were 2 big changes. Change number 1, the replay code. You may have noticed the lack of video footage thus far. That's because Mario Kart DS's built-in replay system is
Sucks.
horrible. For other Mario Kart games, the replay of a race has the same camera angle as the race itself, directly behind the kart. But Mario Kart DS gives you 2 screens during the replay. The top screen
There's
is
a
like
red
an action
airing.
movie, aerial shots of the race that change every few seconds. The bottom screen is just a map of the course. It's hard to see the actual driving with any level of precision, and when combined with camera quality back then, most world record videos from 2006 looked something like this. Are you enjoying this footage? No, of course you're not. But in February 2007, world record holder B-Dash found an action replay code that shows replays as if they're live. This was a huge boost for the quality of Mario Kart DS world records, and going forward I'll be able to show you more of them. Change number 2, the PRB leaderboards were created. Back in December 2005, a player named Minsan found something called Prolonged Rocket Boost, or PRB. By getting the maximum start boost and starting a mini turbo immediately, as long as you're able to snake and preserve this top speed, your kart enters the glitch state of PRB. You're then able to drive off-road without slowing down. PRB saves a variable amount of time. On tracks with no off-road areas like Waluigi Pinball, it saves nothing. But on tracks like GBA Luigi Circuit, it can save a few seconds. The key is that you can't stop snaking at all, or you lose PRB. It's very difficult, and was deemed to be a glitch, so it was banned from all submissions to the website. But in March 2007,
I didn't know this generation was
revisited
introduced the
PRB
double.
and decided
Right.
to allow it on its own leaderboard. Both PRB and non-PRB have near equal prestige, but since PRB
There's a freaking
allows
Magikarp,
faster
dude.
times overall, that's what we'll be tracking for the rest of this video. So, this was the state of the PRB leaderboard.
Alright, it's fine because I think I can get a different counter
Sasha was
literally just by
still number
surfing.
1,
So
and Thomas was number 2, by about the same margin.
I think.
as before. Number 3 was a player named Julio, and number 4 was a player named Fabian. These were the 4 best PRB players in the world, but Sasha still remained dominant, holding nearly half of the game's records on his own. Thomas, Julio, and Fabian were all friends who talked regularly, and the 3 of them were getting really frustrated with Sasha. For one thing, he didn't always post videos of his new records, while Thomas, Julio, and Fabian typically did. Yet, Sasha seemed to be effortlessly beating their times, not letting them hold records for any period of time. It was almost like he was patrolling the forums, waiting for a new record to beat. The insults to Sasha
I thought I could get it.
continued.
Carvana
He has
here.
no
Or something.
life. The amount
Is Carvana-
isn't normal. Maybe they were right, or maybe they were just jealous.
I know I can get a different encounter here. I just don't know if it's via fish rod or surf. I don't know.
Sasha had held the top spot for the past.
I think it's via fishing rod though.
World records were effortless to him. Whenever Sasha saw a time was beaten, he could just pick up and play to instantly beat it back. Then all of a sudden, in the middle of March, Thomas.
There we go. Okay.
disappeared.
I knew I wasn't
Went
going
from
crazy.
submitting times nearly every week to nothing. Nobody heard from him. And then, weeks later, the number 3 ranked player Julio also vanished. A short while after that, the number 4 player Fabian stopped submitting times too. One by one, the number 2 through number 4 players had all disappeared, as if they'd just given up. It was normal to take breaks, but for all 3 to suddenly stop at once, this was bizarre. All
You're
the while,
bizarre.
Sasha
That was
just
really
got
mean, I'm sorry.
further and further ahead. He had no active competitors, and his already huge leads continued to grow. But eventually, he grew tired of racing against himself. It wasn't fun with no competition. So, he too stopped playing. By mid-May, it was very quiet at the top, with all 4 top players inactive. And then, on May 25th, 2007, it happened.
Wait, is this a new encounter?
It was a sneak attack. They'd been playing all along,
We're at
but
118.
secretly, so that Sasha
No, this is
could
the
play
same
defense.
encounter, so I can't get an
For
encounter here.
weeks, they'd been setting world records offline, and now that they'd done enough to affect Sasha's ranking,
I can't get an
they
encounter up
suddenly
here though.
posted them all.
It is a
The end
Zigzagoon,
result?
which I already have one of those. Trippius. I can't sense for you, can I? Oh no, I can. Okay.
If something like this were done today, there would be significant pushback, and the players involved would be heavily criticized or punished. But in 2007, most of the community cheered them on. They were excited about all the drama, and were especially happy that nearly all of these times had videos to go with them. In all, Thomas, Julio, and Fabian hoarded dozens of times, and took 12 records away from Sasha. What was Sasha's reaction to all this? Well, remember, he too was inactive when the reveal was made. But when he saw what happened, he simply said, "If I make a comeback, the charts will look a bit different." But the comeback never happened. Sasha only submitted one more time before quitting the game forever. The community hasn't heard from him since June 2007. Now 17 years later, his Mario Kart DS page remains dormant, likely never to awaken again. Like it or not, Thomas Bolton was back on top. And underhanded tactics aside, he was still a very popular member of the community. Thomas regularly talked to players on the forums and raced against them on Wi-Fi. But here's the thing. Everything we've covered so far, from Mark Jones all the way to Sasha, was just from the first year and a half of the game's release. Nobody had been able to lock down the top spot for
I didn't
more
mean
than
to
a
do
few
that. I
months.
had to go for headbutt.
Well, with Thomas Bolton, that was about to change. Although his rise was controversial, Thomas became the best player the game had ever seen. With Sasha out of the way, he was able to go on a tear, setting world records like they were nothing. And by September 2007, he held an incredible 40 out of 64 world records. That's close to what Michael Fried was able to do right after the game's launch. And now, in a much more competitive era, Thomas managed to do something similar. It was remarkable. Fabian was Thomas's biggest rival in 2007, but he could only hold about 10 world records to Thomas's 40, with the remaining few records scattered among several players. Thomas also set some of the longest lasting records in the game's history during this period. In April 2009, he got a Choco Island 2 lap record that stood for the next 8 years unchallenged. It was a masterclass in PRB, taking flawless lines while snaking until right before the end. And yet, despite all these records, despite having a huge lead over everyone else, I still call this period the reign of indifference. For one thing, Thomas still preferred doing Wi-Fi races over playing time trials, and when he did, he didn't seem to care about his average finish at all. There were certain tracks he outright refused to play just because he didn't like them, like Rainbow Road and GameCube Luigi Circuit, which makes it all the more remarkable that, despite these preferences, he still had the lowest average finish by a mile. No one was even close. This pattern continued into 2008, as Thomas held on to about 40 world records. That summer, he began to get his first serious challenger, a player named Ben Stoneman. Ben's average finish began plummeting, going from over 7 in March to just 4.21 in June. And by September, it was genuinely getting...
How was my backflip? I just...
Ben and Thomas were separated by just over half a point. However, despite their close average finish scores, Thomas still had an absolutely massive world record lead. Ben had a few world records, but all 64 of his times were good. Thomas had a lot of world records, while barely bothering to play certain other courses. In other words, Thomas was playing for records, while Ben was playing for champ. It was pretty clear that Thomas was the better player, he just didn't care.
Wait, you don't have any water type moves.
Play Rainbow Road, he could pull away and leave Ben in the dust, but he refused. What was it about Rainbow Road that Thomas couldn't stand? Well, it was one of the very few tracks in Mario Kart DS with shortcuts. The rail shortcut is done by jumping after using a shroom to land on the rail, ultimately skipping most of the loop. And the pipe shortcut is done by jumping off the road and fooling Lakitu into placing you further ahead on the track. Thomas had absolutely no interest in these shortcuts. He preferred a more consistent playstyle, like when racing others online. Shortcuts didn't fit into that mold at all, with very different mechanics to the rest of the game. So, Thomas's Rainbow Road time stuck out like a sore thumb in a sea of world records. Throughout the rest of 2008, Thomas and Ben remained deadlocked, as their average finish gap remained roughly the same. But in 2009, Thomas kicked it up another notch. In April, he increased his world record total to 46, while moving a full average finish point ahead of Ben, and it all reached a peak in October 2009, when Thomas managed to hold 48 out of 64 possible world records. That's 75% of all PRB records in Mario Kart DS. Just incredible that someone is able to get this far ahead on a game that millions of people had played. Thomas felt that this might be his peak in Mario Kart DS. He'd been the champ for 2.5 years, and there were few courses where he didn't hold the record. Where else could he even go from here? All Thomas could do was sit around and wait for someone to get good enough to challenge him, and he thought that might be coming soon. It turns out, he was right. Although it had been smooth sailing for Thomas so far, 2010 would be a much different story. This is Abel. Abel had been playing Mario Kart DS since release, and joined the website in 2007. He became obsessed with the game, playing as often as he could and learning from its best players at the time, Sasha and Thomas. He embarked on a slow, steady progression up the rankings. He entered the top 10 by mid-2008, and the top 5 by early 2009. He hadn't been a threat to Thomas so far, but he just kept getting better. And now in 2010, he was officially a contender to be the next PRB champion. But there was also someone else. On Halloween night 2008, more than 3 years after Abel began playing, a weekly news update was posted. These posts talked about site activity from the past week, including ranking movement and world records. This week's update focused heavily on top players Thomas and Ben, and there was also a cameo from Abel, who at this point was ranked number 7. But as a footnote at the end of the update, there was mention of a new player who is improving rapidly. He was named David Roldan and was still outside the top 100. What followed was one of the quickest ascents in Mario Kart DS history. Just 6 months
My bag
later,
is full one more time and lose
David
it.
had made it all the way to the top 25. He had a very uneven approach to playing. Funnily enough, he was dominant on the one track Thomas hated, Rainbow Road. David held both the lap and 3-lap records there, while he lagged behind on most of the other 31 tracks. As quickly as he'd improved, he was mostly considered a one-track specialist. Incredible at Rainbow Road, but not a record contender anywhere else. But you see, today, 15 years later, David Roldan is better known by his online pseudonym, MK Dasher. And all of a sudden in the second half of 2009, MK Dasher did this.
I don't remember what her Pokemon is. I think it's Mariana. That should not have done as much damage as it did.
Thomas still held a majority of records, but for the first time in years, there was a serious dent in his total. All 3 players continued playing and setting records, and their average finish gap shrunk. But suddenly in April, Thomas said he needed to take a break from playing. He was in school and had to focus on his studies for a while. This was Abel and MK Dasher's big chance to take the top spot. Both players duked it out over the next couple months. That May, Thomas officially lost his record majority. The tide was turning. Thomas's days on top were numbered. And on July 7th, Abel made a grand reveal. He'd set 15 new PRs, improving all of his lowest ranked times. None of them were new world records.
Alright, we got the May fight. I don't know what she leads with. I guess we'll lead with Breloom.
Only holding 7 world records, Abel had become the new PRB champion. The greatest reign in Mario Kart DS history had come to an end. But the battle wasn't over. MK Dasher was still actively playing. Abel had to keep going or risk being dethroned immediately. Sure enough, just 3 days after
of course you gotta
champ, MK Dasher
8.
posted 78
But it's fine.
times to bolster his
A Grovile, I saw that coming. Let's go up to
he was already closing in.
Breloom.
Abel had to do something quick. He posted a couple PRs on July 25th.
Oh, you outspeed me, of course you do.
But on the 27th, MK Dasher posted 5 of his own. And guess what?
Chicken butt. I don't know.
Abel's reign as champ lasted just 20 days. MK Dasher
Oh, I
now
can't even
had
count
a
to 20, that's
narrow
impressive.
average finish lead over Abel. Through the summer,
Oh, we got Fly, that's pretty cool. But we do not have a flyer on the team.
Back in early September. After 3 years of no movement, the champ title was now
Doesn't mean to say we
constantly
can't get one, it's just we don't have one yet anyway.
MK Dasher
We finally made it to a Mart. I
also
can
many
finally
records
sell like
Abel,
crap in my
but
inventory.
Abel's consistency on other courses balanced things out. However, their record totals still paled in comparison to Thomas Bolton. The only reason Thomas wasn't champion by a mile was because of his outright refusal to play Rainbow Road. His ranking on that course had nearly slipped out of the top 40. The fact that he was still in 3rd place overall was a miracle. If only Thomas had been willing to play Rainbow Road. But now, he hadn't been seen in months, and his average finish was only going down compared to Abel and MK Dasher. And then, out of nowhere, for the first time in months, Thomas submitted a new time to the website. And guess which course it was on?
Rainbow Road. How do I know?
Played Shortcut Rainbow Road.
Alright,
This
counter here is an Oddish. I haven't caught an Oddish, seriously. Oh, okay.
But it was an enormous.
I mean, it's fine. I don't really care. It's just
42nd place. This one time made his average finish drop by 0.45, enough to move Thomas back ahead of MK Dasher and Abel. The king was back on top. A few days later, he sent in more Rainbow Road times. This is what Thomas needed to do all along. Now, he had a decent average finish lead and a big world record lead. It was like a repeat of his last big reign. He seemed invincible to anyone else's challenge. However, Thomas was still quite busy with school.
Welcome back, Bolish. I've literally had an audition every single hardcore Nuzlocke so far.
He once again stepped away from the game, potentially
Hilarious.
opening the door to MK Dasher enable. So, who would capitalize this time? Well, neither one was playing much at this point.
Alright, well now that
Perhaps a
we
bit taken
got all the
back
Pokemon
by
we can
Thomas.
have up to this point,
Then in November, MK Dasher began submitting times again. And
put
we
together
know
our
MK
team.
Dasher is good, but this was a totally different guy
Um,
a few months ago. He was setting a new
don't
PR
want it.
nearly every single day. And as his average
Fast forward,
finish
believe it or not.
dropped, the community began to see who he
okay,
was.
we want to deposit you.
For months,
hold on, I gotta take
MK
the suit
Dasher,
off you.
Abel, and Thomas have been trading the champ title back and forth. But now,
Oh my gosh, I have to freaking take items off every single one of my freaking Pokemon, dude.
and do things that the game had never seen before.
Alright. So, Solrock.
On November 8th, 2010,
Could maybe do
MK Dasher
Sharpedo. Can we get
became
Sharpedo?
PRB champion. At this point, he had 16 world records, well behind Thomas's 26. But in 2011, he went on a world record
Let me see
spree,
here.
reminiscent of what Thomas
Yeah, we
himself
can. We can't get a
had in
Sharpedo.
2008. It was world
If we
record
want,
after world record.
I think we're gonna
In
want
August,
because
he passed
I have
Thomas's world record
many
total
options,
and never
honestly.
looked back. Even when he wasn't setting world records, he was still cleaning up.
And
his
then,
time
do we have a
and
flyer?
improving his slower ranked times.
It's a live.
For instance,
Yeah, we do have you.
times in 10th
I guess
place,
you'll be our flyer then.
lowered by a full second, a massive amount for a player of his skill level, and good for second place. MK Dasher now had a big average finish lead, in addition to a big world record lead. He was easily
Alright.
considered the game's premier player.
Well,
and the
time to
only
do
guy who
some
could
grinding.
really
Yay.
beat him at this point was Thomas. But once again,
So what's
he
gonna be
was
the best
more
place to
consistent.
grind?
Thomas played Mario Kart DS for years, and now
Oh, I can't fly
Cat
yet.
Chapter
Oh,
was
that makes
like-
some
was
things so
behind.
much more annoying.
So, MK Dasher only had one real competitor during this period, a player named Rupa. Rupa appeared essentially
Yeah, that makes
out of
things so much more
nowhere in
annoying because I gotta
2011.
like
He
back
joined
all
the
the way.
site and almost instantly began setting world records. But perhaps more impressive than his driving skills was his innovation. He implemented small pieces of tech that helped him save time in ways nobody else
Okay.
was doing. For example, in Mario Kart DS, you lose a small amount of speed if you steer without drifting. Now, normally this isn't
Right.
an issue, since you're drifting through the whole
It's
race.
high push. I'll
But
just leave
right
it,
at the
honestly.
start, you typically have to turn to set up your first
Yeah, I can run from
turbo.
here.
So to avoid a slowdown here, Rupa started doing a neutral hop. He hopped and turned in the air just before landing, letting him change his direction while preserving his forward momentum. He also started doing neutral hops at the end of some laps. After the last mini turn,
Honestly, yeah, honestly, this isn't a bad place to start grinding.
Rupa started hopping without
Seriously?
turning to preserve his forward speed. These were small time saves, but when combined with incredible driving, Rupa was able to build up a number of world records. He peaked in May 2012.
He
with an
peaked?
impressive 13 of them. But just like Thomas Bolton, there were a number of courses he didn't care to play, so he was
Hear this,
never
boys.
much of a threat
He
to take the
peaked.
champ title from MK Dasher. Then in 2013, Mario Kart DS entered a very inactive period. The game was 8 years old at this point, and its popularity had gradually died down while games
Oh,
like
the
Mario
bag being
Kart
full!
took over.
The bag's full one more freaking time, I'm gonna lose it.
2006, nearly 1,800 world records were set across the year. In 2013, that number was down to just
I don't have like
44.
anything to sell. I need all this
Players
stuff.
had moved on.
I guess I could sell my
Even
thunder, or
MK
not sell my
Dasher was
thunderstones,
playing
but
much less than he used to.
put my stone of
Despite the inactivity,
evolution
players
stones in
still
the
set a
PC.
handful of records, but they didn't put much of a dent in MK Dasher's record total. And that was the state of Mario Kart DS in the spring of 2014. MK Dasher was still the champ, but overall activity was very light. Perhaps the game just needed some kind of a spark.
I don't think I have any other evolution stones.
Other than snaking, Mario Kart DS had a reputation as one of the least broken Mario Karts. Only 3 out of its 32 tracks had shortcuts, and most of those were very...
Yeah, we're gonna give you the experience share to...
7 years after the last shortcut discovery, shortcut
you,
number
I guess.
4 was found on Mario Circuit. On April 9th, 2014, Folk and his friend Toa found that by driving toward this wall with speed, then hopping on this raised slope, you could get enough air to land on top of the wall. It was quickly found that you could clear the wall entirely and use this as a shortcut, cutting out a bend to save about 1.5 seconds. Now, this wasn't a very big time save, but it was enough that you had to get a time with this shortcut, or else your rank would fall way behind and hurt your average finish. And sure enough, within days, MK Dasher was back and setting new records on Mario Circuit. His first submissions to the site in over a year. It rejuvenated his love of the game, and he began playing more than ever, like grinding for the first sub 1 on Sky Garden. He even found his own new shortcut on Rainbow Road, the Loop shortcut, a faster and easier replacement for the Rail shortcut. MK Dasher was more active than he'd been in years. His world record lead had increased, and his average finish was leaps ahead of anyone else. At this point, he'd already been the champ for nearly 4 years, and although he'd faltered slightly while taking a break, his lead was once again growing and he'd separated from others again. How long could this go on? Could anybody catch MK Dasher? Then, in June 2014, there was an unexpected post on the forums. Thomas Bolton was back. Over the last 4 years, Thomas had barely touched Mario Kart DS.
I could probably take it off you
But
now.
since the game's official Wi-Fi servers were shutting down, Thomas wanted to come back and play a bit more. And this time, he was going to focus heavily on playing time trials. Now look, Thomas had been a dominant champ back in 2008, but that was years ago. He'd been passed up by MK Dasher. How good could Thomas be in 2014? Could he still set world records? Thomas Bolton came back out of nowhere, set 8 world records in just over a week, and beat MK Dasher to take back the champ title. His skills hadn't gone anywhere. In fact, he was playing better than he'd ever been. This was despite not playing competitively at all in over 4 years. Although he'd resisted shortcuts in the past, Thomas decided to try the new ones on Mario Circuit and Rainbow Road. And he actually posted respectable times, as high as 6th place on Rainbow Road and 3rd place on Mario Circuit. But even more important, Thomas was directly outdueling MK Dasher on some of these records. For instance, in June, MK Dasher had set a new lap record on Donut Plains with some minor strategy changes. But when Thomas returned, he decided to play it too and beat the time that MK Dasher had just posted. He got the record, and it ultimately helped him pass MK Dasher for champ. Thomas and MK Dasher were both extremely active over the following months, as they each set world record after world record. These two stood head and shoulders above the rest. They had 41 records between them, while nobody else had more than 8. This was a beautiful period for Mario Kart DS. The two best players the game had ever seen, battling it out and trading the champ title back and forth. But all good things must come to an end. While the summer months of 2014 had rampant record activity, by the end of the year, things had slowed down. And by early 2015, the dust had more or less settled. Thomas was just ahead of MK Dasher as the PRB champion, but they were now both inactive, sitting alone at the top, holding a majority of the game's records. 2015 was another quiet year for Mario Kart DS. Thomas was in the middle of his 7th reign as champ, but he wasn't actively defending his title. So, the door was open for somebody new to make a move. And that summer, guess who made a charge toward the top spot?
Who? No. I knew
That's
it was
right.
Mark.
It was Ben
Yeah.
SunKERN. You might remember Ben from 2008. when he got fairly close to Thomas but couldn't quite get there. That was kind of the story for Ben. Always in the top 5, but never the champ. But with both players ahead of him out of the way, Ben saw a chance to move up. He set a number of PRs that beat Thomas but not MK Dasher, causing MK Dasher to briefly move ahead of Thomas for champion. But Ben kept going, eyeing the top spot for himself. That October, he took the Luigi's Mansion lap and 3-lap records, and it was enough to push him over the top. For the first time in 5 years, someone other than Thomas or MK Dasher was the PRB champion of Mario Kart DS. Now, part of the reason Ben was on top was because of other players in activity, but he was still an incredible player in his own right. Of the 35 records set in 2015, Ben did more than half of them. He also set 21 total records during his reign as champ, and on some courses he was flat out dominant, like Luigi's Mansion and Yoshi Circuit. He lowered the records repeatedly on these courses, and for years nobody could touch him, not even Thomas or MK Dasher. Throughout 2016, there was very little movement. Ben was the only active top player, and he had a small but stable lead in average finish. But it's worth noting that Ben was considered a little weaker than the champs right before him. Thomas and MK Dasher were both inactive, and he'd taken advantage of the opportunity. Ben still had a very strong timesheet, but he didn't have that many world records. It was generally believed that if either Thomas or MK Dasher came back, Ben's status as champion would be very favorable. And then,
kind of like starting to surpass this area. What's the next place?
MK Dasher set a world record. It was on GameCube Luigi Circuit, thanks to a new strategy developed by Toa. In the description, he said he had a bit of free time this summer to play Mario Kart DS again, but don't expect a long comeback. Well, 2 weeks later, after world records on Luigi's Circuit and Luigi's Mansion, MK Dasher had beaten Ben Stoneman. And over the next month, he set records on Peach Circuit, Choco Island 2, Koopa Beach 2, and Rainbow Road. MK Dasher hadn't missed a beat in the last 3 years. In fact, it seemed like he was playing even better than before. He was setting world records with an ease that he'd never had. By late August, he was up to 22 world records. That fall, his world record quest continued. MK Dasher was gaining record after record, and he just kept going. This was MK Dasher at his absolute best.
We're gonna wait till Swallow gets a little higher in level before I get the experience.
And by June of 2019, MK Dasher held 35 world records. The most records any one person had held since Thomas Bolton in 2000.
Right, how many rare candies do I have right now?
35 records, 2 of them stood out above the rest, because they were the 2 longest lasting world records in the game's history. The first was MK Dasher's Shroom Ridge 3-lap record, set way back in August 2009. Shroom Ridge is a uniquely difficult course. First off, it's one of the longest tracks in the game. It also has cars all over that you need to avoid, making ideal lines harder. There's upward and downward slopes that affect mini turbos, and it's extremely hard to keep PRB so you can drive over the grass in the middle section. In August 2009, MK Dasher got a 1
I'm like barely not within one-shotting range.
A really good race that took risky lines between the vehicles and the wall. And it stood as the world record throughout the long reigns of Thomas Bolton, Ben Stoneman, and MK Dasher himself. Players got close over the years, but nobody could quite get there. Finally, in September 2020, Max beat the record after an 11-year reign on top, only for MK Dasher to beat him back just 7 days later. His other long-lasting record was the Sky Garden lap record from February 2010. This is one of the few tracks in the game with a shortcut. You have to keep PRB, press R to hop at the last moment, then shroom and precisely navigate to recover speed. MK Dasher was easily the best player at this shortcut, which is why his 18.757 lap also stood for 11.
I don't know how I'm still not in one-shotting range. Like seriously.
He was finally beaten by Boreas, and this time it took MK Dasher longer than 7 days to beat him back. It took him 8 days. Nobody else came close to MK Dasher. In the past, even when he was the champ, he had competition like Thomas or Ben. But now, there was really nobody. He held a
Surely
majority
now
of
I'm
world
in
records, and had been the champ for the past 3 years with a massive lead. MK Dasher seemed untouchable. But who are we kidding? We've seen this before. No matter how dominant the champ, no matter how amazing the player, nobody stays on top forever. On the evening of September 20th, 2020, a player named McCurry posted in Discord that he'd stumbled upon somebody new. This person's name was Taiga, and he just posted a video of a 156 on Waluigi Pinball. That was an incredible time, and good for second place overall. Nobody had heard of this guy before. Taiga hadn't submitted to the site and showed no progression of his times. There was just a near world record sitting on his YouTube page, with no elaboration. Over the next week, a couple more of these elite level times popped up on Taiga's channel, including a second place time on Sky Garden. And then, on September 25th, Taiga uploaded another one. He had just beaten MK Dasher's Bowser Castle world record. That same day, he posted a video scrolling through his PRs on each course, and it showed that he had an elite time on nearly every track in the game, including 4 world records. Who was this guy? Where did he come from? Taiga had just suddenly popped up with no progression or prior community contact and beaten 4 world records held by the game's very best players. These were veterans who'd been playing the game for years, and he'd beaten their times like it was nothing. Oh, and one other important thing to note, Taiga was 11 years old. Taiga's videos were uploaded by his parents, who said in the description that he was in 6th grade. And most of the community realized this had to be a prank. There was no way an 11-year-old could
They realized it had to be a prank.
single-handedly take down times that a community of veterans had played for years to achieve, right? I mean, some of these guys have been playing since before Taiga was allegedly born. These videos were either faked or played by some veteran who was trolling the community. But when they asked for proof, Taiga responded with a hand cam video showing it really was him playing. This was actually real. An 11-year-old had somehow become one of the best Mario Kart DS players on Earth, and he was beating records that were set when he was a toddler. Although there was limited footage of him driving, top players could tell that Taiga had inhuman consistency. He was also playing with the 3DS Circle Pad, which was virtually unheard of among top players. Taiga only had 4 world records, but it was clear that he had the potential to get way more. Perhaps even enough to rival MK Dasher. But nobody knew what would happen next. Would Taiga fade away, or keep setting records? Well, Taiga did indeed keep playing. By the end of 2020, he'd increased his record total from 4 to 6. It wasn't the world record domination that some had predicted, but he was still hanging on to his fair share of records. Maybe climbing all the way to the top was unrealistic for 11-year-old Taiga, but he'd carved out a niche for himself in the Mario Kart DS community. Or maybe he was just getting started.
Thought I took the experience share off for you. Oh, the bag's full. Oh. That's fine, I got some stuff to sell anyway.
Taiga had ascended the mountain. After 9 months of heavy playing in 2021, he'd nearly made it to the top. All the while, MK Dasher was playing and setting his own world records, but he kept losing ground to Taiga. For every record that he set, Taiga got multiple others, and the result was the complete erosion of his world record lead. On September 17th, 2021, it officially happened. Taiga passed MK Dasher's record count. But was this enough to make him the champ? How did his average finish compare to MK Dasher? Well, overall, Taiga had an incredible timesheet. If he didn't have the record on a course, he was usually in second place. One notable exception. These were his Moo farm ranks. Taiga was pretty disconnected from the rest of the community and seemed to not care at all about average finish. So, even though he'd passed MK Dasher in nearly every metric, Moo farm prevented him from officially being champ. MK Dasher still held the crown. By late 2021, MK Dasher gave up trying to compete with Taiga. He realized it was a pointless endeavor. Instead, he focused on grinding individual tracks he enjoyed, like Rainbow Road, lowering these records over and over. He knew his champ status could disappear at any moment. Meanwhile, Taiga kept playing too, setting new records while also lowering ones he already had. By mid-2022, his world record lead had grown, despite still not technically being the champ. And then, in October 2022, it happened. Taiga played Moo farm. It was far from perfect. On his 3-lap time, he missed a mini turbo and hit a wall at the end. But his driving was still incredible overall. He improved his times from outside the top 150 to 3rd place. And finally, it was made official. Taiga was the champion of Mario Kart DS. Could MK Dasher respond? Well, in 2023, he went all in, doing everything he could to close the gap between himself and Taiga. But no matter what MK Dasher did, he remained 5 to 10 world records behind Taiga. Even when he managed to beat a few of Taiga's records, Mario Circuit 1, Donut Plains 1, Figure 8 Circuit, Taiga always beat him back in a matter of weeks. It was reminiscent of what Sasha did to Thomas back in 2007. Before MK Dasher knew it, his progress was always undone. He then turned to cleaning up his timesheet instead of chasing world records. This helped close the average finish gap somewhat, but
oh, perfect time to, I didn't even know you got rock slide. This is the perfect timing to get that.
All of 2023. Both players were active and improving their PRs. By early 2024, Taiga had been on top for a year and a half, and despite MK Dasher's best effort, he hadn't been able to pose much of a threat. That was the status quo, all the way until April 2024, when there was a revolution. On April 5th, 2024, someone new popped up in the Mario Kart DS Discord server, Zumo de Papaya. Right away, he started asking about a potential glitch on Luigi's Mansion. He was wondering if it was somehow possible to bounce high enough to clip through the wall and down to the floor below. Players had already seen bounces like this before. They weren't consistent enough or big enough for anything meaningful. But Zumo was an experienced glitch hunter. He knew what he was doing, and as he kept experimenting with different angles and steering, his bounces began to get higher. Other players started to take notice, and one named Guan began experiments of his own. A few hours later, Guan posted that he had done it. He'd bounced over the wall and clipped down to later in the track. This was Mario Kart DS's first new shortcut in more than 10 years. And it was about to kick off a revolution of new shortcuts, all revolving around this one technique, the super bounce. Here's how it's done. You must angle your cart back in the air while falling, press R on the frame you land next to a wall, then steer perpendicular to said wall. This allows you to get massive air, and potentially skip certain sections of the track. The super bounce opens up the door to many new shortcuts, but it's limited somewhat because of the game's checkpoint system. Each track has a number of key checkpoints you must drive through, and if you miss one, the lap won't count. So, if your super bounce causes you to miss a key checkpoint, you won't complete a lap upon crossing the finish line. Ultimately, Zumo, Guan, and others collaborated to find 3 new shortcuts using the super bounce. The first new RTA viable shortcut since 2014. The first was on Luigi's Mansion, which you've already seen. It saves about 1.5 seconds and is also the hardest of the 3 shortcuts. You can see you're not skipping any key checkpoints by cutting out this section of the track, so the lap counts. The second shortcut was on Delfino Square and used an idea theorized years ago by a player known as 9. You jump off the lip, hit the bridge to bounce and tilt your cart back, then super bounce over the wall to skip a section of the track. Just like Luigi's Mansion, this shortcut also saves about 1.5 seconds. But the biggest time save of the 3 shortcuts, and also by far the easiest, was on Waluigi Pinball. It's performed after a long fall from a zipper, and by using a mushroom, you can make it all the way to the bottom of the pinball machine. It saves close to 9 seconds per lap, blowing the other 2 shortcuts out of the water. The Waluigi Pinball shortcut was first hit in the world record by MYAAA on April 13th. MYAAA is a Mario Kart shortcut aficionado, who's hit shortcut world records in several Mario Kart games. It only made sense that he'd be the first to hit this one in Mario Kart DS. But what about our world champions? They were used to incredibly fast racing without shortcuts. How did they adapt to the super bounce? Well, Taiga did briefly take the Waluigi Pinball lap record, but there's no footage of him ever using the shortcuts on Delfino Square or Luigi's Mansion. He did manage to hit a new lap shortcut on GameCube Luigi Circuit, but for the most part, he's stuck to non-shortcut racing recently. MK Dasher, on the other hand, well, he got good at the super bounce. At times, he's held all 6 shortcut records across the 3 super bounce courses. He's mastered the shortcuts themselves, and when combined with his driving skills, he can outmatch nearly any player in the world on these courses. The shortcut revolution has given MK Dasher a leg up on Taiga, and as a result, it's brought him right back into the competition. On April 14th, MK Dasher took the champ title from Taiga, and ever since then, they've been trading it back and forth. As of now, MK Dasher is officially the PRB champ. He holds a very slight lead over Taiga, thanks in large part to his shortcut records. Their rivalry is stronger than ever. They hold a combined 61 out of the game's 64 world records. And as exciting as their futures will be, it's just a small part of Mario Kart DS's history. These are the best players to ever touch Mario Kart DS. Their records, their struggles, and their stories live on, and they'll remain a part of this game's legacy forever. Thanks for watching.
You're opening Salt.
Look at how I made this video and storylines that I couldn't include? Join my Patreon page. I only charge when I upload a video. Thanks. The Simpsons Hit and Run, a classic game that defined a generation. You might remember playing it as a kid 20 years ago.
Yo, Devinverse, welcome in, dude. Yeah, it's been a while. Appreciate you jumping in. Right now, we're just grinding for the Winona fight because we're doing a Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire hardcore Nuzlocke. This is our team currently. In the level cap is level 33, so we still got a little bit of grinding ahead of us.
And the result 20 years later is a shockingly deep speedrun. This is the story of how we got there. This is the history of the Simpsons Hit and Run world records. And now, a word from this video's sponsor, Displate. Displates are metal.
Wait, yo, look! We got Pokerus! Yo, sick! I didn't even realize. Dude, nice! Super rare. Let's go, dude. Love to see it.
Displate solves that problem. They use a magnet mounting system that leaves no trace on the wall. If you get tired of one poster, simply swap it out for another in seconds. It's easy every time. And unlike paper posters, displates stay vibrant and colorful without fading. If you want to upgrade your room, I'd recommend getting a few displates. Use my link in the description, or just use the promo code SummoningSalt for up to 37% off upon checkout. Thanks again to Displate for sponsoring this video. The year is 2005. The main hub for speedrunning is a website called Speed Demos Archive. And over on the forums, a group of site members are discussing how to speedrun a relatively new game, The Simpsons Hit and Run. However, the conversation ultimately goes nowhere, and this begins a trend. Every few years, a new runner comes along and brings up speedrunning the game, and every time, they're told it simply wouldn't be a good game to speedrun. So, why? Well, forum goers in the mid-2000s identified three main problems. The first problem, they actually thought the game was too hard. Now, that's not totally unfounded. Simpsons Hit and Run has 7 levels, and each level has 7 missions to complete. Missions in the first few levels are pretty easy. But
I'm gonna rare candy the Soul Rock once it gets to level 30 because you are not fun to grind.
Simpsons Hit and Run, you probably remember the infamous missions Never Trust a Snake and Set to Kill. You also need to complete objectives under a time limit. Any slowdowns and you run out of time. You also need to avoid hit and runs. If you run into too many objects or pedestrians, the police come after you, potentially slowing you down and taking some of your coins. Speaking of, that was the second main problem, coins. You must collect 3,625 of them to unlock everything needed to beat the game. They're scattered all across the levels in boxes, machines, wasps, and other places. You have to go out of your way to collect enough of them, severely slowing down a speedrun. So, reasons The Simpsons Hit and Run is a bad speed game. There are too many coins, the game is too hard, and the game is too easy. Yeah, if you fail a mission 7 times, Hit and Run gives you the option to skip it and move on to the next one. So, for 3/4 of the game's missions, it's faster to just restart over and over and skip the mission, rather than actually playing it. That would make an any percent speedrun quite easy, and exceedingly boring. Because of all this, speedrunners ignored Simpsons Hit and Run for years. New forum threads would pop up and fizzle out without much attention. But speedrunning kept growing over the years. More people got into the hobby, and those runners looked for new games to run. And finally, in 2012, nearly a decade after its initial release, the first speedruns of The Simpsons Hit and Run were performed. A few runners played straight up any percent, where you were allowed to restart and skip missions. This led to some fairly boring runs, but there were still very talented players. Duke Bilgewater and Neke for President completed the first any percent runs of Hit and Run. But then, another more popular category began to form. The rule set for this category was that you had to complete all 49 story missions without skipping any. To this day, it remains the most popular category of The Simpsons Hit and Run, and it's called All Story Missions. Early runs were performed by runners Finja29 and Cookie. No videos of their world records survive, but they got times clocking in around 2 hours. The early Hit and Run community kept track of their times on a Google spreadsheet. Runners would simply post their fastest times to the board. It was a small and tight-knit community. And it's from this early community that we get our first world record with surviving video. The Simpsons Hit and Run in 1 hour and 54 minutes by Pessimistic Mango. Hit and Run is one of the most technical games I've ever covered on this channel. And it all started with the coin route. Mango had to find the best way to collect over 3,600 coins without wasting too much time. Certain missions had downtime built into them. For example, if he just had to follow a car around the map, he could drive around and collect coins himself, while making sure he stayed close enough to the car. But even on the other missions, Mango had to collect coins, and tried to do it whenever he happened to be near some. It was a balancing act, but he mapped his coin route out across the entire game. Then there's the tricks. Hit and Run has a lot of them. Some are quite basic, like mission warps. After finishing a mission, the game usually tells you to drive somewhere to begin the next one. But instead, by going to the menu after Mission Complete appears on the screen, you can select the next mission and warp there straight away. Another basic piece of tech is car resets. You can reset your car at any time and it'll warp to the nearest main road. This can move you ahead a bit on the map or just get you back on track quicker. That's the easy stuff. There's second nature to hit and run speedrunners, but Mango's run also had some sophisticated tricks, like Carl Skip. In the 7th mission of level 1, or 1-7, you're supposed to race Smithers to Mr. Burns' mansion. The intended route is to drive all the way around the map, but if you instead push Carl with your car past the power plant door, and then talk to him to initiate the race, the power plant door closes with you already past it. So, you can just quickly drive through the power plant to the mansion, and save about a minute on the speedrun. Other important parts of Mango's run were the destruction missions. There's several of these throughout the game. You have to destroy a car or multiple cars as quickly as you can by running into it over and over. Mango had some clever strategies for dealing damage quickly. In 6-5, where he had to destroy Skinner's car, he directed it against the wall and another car. It got stuck, and he was able to ram it over and over. But not all destruction missions went smoothly. In 1-3, for instance, he spent a lot of time trying to chase Smithers' car down and damage it. And finally, while Mango was a fantastic player, The Simpsons Hit and Run is still a hard game, especially at the end. In level 7, you have to deliver nuclear waste all the way across the map without accidentally blowing it up. In 7-5, a car swerved in front of Mango and blew up the waste, making him restart the mission. And in 7-7, he just grazed the edge of a tree, but it was enough to blow up the waste again, losing another chunk of time. And that was the run. An hour and 54 minutes later, Mango had beaten the game. It had its shortcomings, but overall this was a great starting point for hit and run speedruns. Mango knew he could do better, and he'd go on to lower the record a few more times in the following days, sadly not saving any of the videos. Finally, on May 29th, he got a run he was happy enough with to save, 1 hour and 50 minutes. It was a greatly cleaned up version of his hour 54 run. Nearly every level was faster. He got better at destroying vehicles quickly, and once again he had some brilliant strategies here. For instance, in 3-7, why destroy the limo yourself when you could get it stuck so it destroyed itself while you picked up coins? Mango's level 7 was cleaner too, blowing up the waste only once. But he had a lot of notable times.
Lesson learned, do not fight the
He missed
Tropius.
a big trick that we haven't talked about yet. The cutscene skip. The Simpsons Hit and Run has a handful of cutscenes. They play after certain missions, and there's no option to skip them. You have to watch them. Except, there's a trick you can do on 3 of the cutscenes. The ones after level 2, level 5, and level 6. After Mission Complete fades out, if you pause the game in a small window just before the cutscene starts, you can select the next mission and skip the cutscene entirely. You have a 9-frame window to skip the level 2 cutscene and a 16-frame window for levels 5 and 6. That's between a 20th of a second and a quarter of a second depending on your frame rate. You can also repeatedly pause to give yourself a better chance at hitting it. So all in all, cutscene skip doesn't seem that bad. But the problem is that it's super punishing if you miss. The level 6 cutscene lasts 45 seconds, the level 2 cutscene lasts 55 seconds, and the level 5 cutscene lasts a whopping 2 minutes and 20 seconds. So there's added pressure of knowing that if you miss one, it's a huge blow to your speedrun. And sure enough, in this run, Mango missed the level 6 cutscene skip. It was a 45-second time loss. Had he gotten it, it would have been a sub 150. Mango made that his goal time going forward, a run in the 140s. But it wasn't going to be easy. because Mango wasn't the only player who could get that time. In mid-2014, he got a competitor. Meet pepeD Iguana.
Hi, pepeD Iguana.
And not just because iguanas eat mangoes, but because on June 14th, Iguana got a run of 150.08, a new record and just 9 seconds from the sub 150. In true hit and run fashion, Iguana didn't highlight his run since he wasn't happy with it. But Mango and Iguana were neck and neck. They both wanted the sub 150, and they were both just seconds away. Who would get there first? On July 4th, 2014, Mango got a good chance. His run started with the fastest level 1 he'd ever performed. The next few levels were up and down, but crucially, he got all 3 cutscene skips, meaning he saved an additional 45 seconds. Mango entered level 7 on pace for a 149.58. It seemed like it was going to be close. But instead, Mango played his fastest ever level 7, and it was a blowout. 148.16.
What did not one-shot with?
147. The middle had its slowdowns, but Mango had started and finished his run incredibly strong. The ball was in Iguana's court. Could he compete with a 148? For a few months, he did struggle to beat Mango's run, but by that November, the tides had turned and he felt he had a great chance to pull it off. How come? Well, it all came down to destroying vehicles.
I don't know.
Iguana had some new strategies.
Fights.
It takes forever to be destroyed, especially with Snake's car, which isn't adept at dealing damage. It took Mango 2.5 minutes to destroy it in his 148, but here's what Iguana did. He guided it off the road so it got stuck against the pillar. It then damaged itself over time as it tried to escape, and Iguana destroyed it in under a minute. The armored truck strat would become one of the most pivotal strategies in the entire run. Miss it,
Peter's attack's pretty good, and be stupid not to take advantage of it.
Another fast destruction strategy was
Yeah, let's go ahead and forget Bite, I guess.
Iguana steered Smithers' car into a house, then repeatedly hit it while stuck to destroy it quickly.
Alright, we're pretty much grinded for
Mango chasing the
Winona.
car down. But perhaps my favorite new strategy was in 4-7. Here, you have to escape Chief Wiggum by getting far enough away from him. But instead of driving far, Iguana just went inside the Simpsons house. And the mission ended, saving him 10+ seconds. This works because the inside of the house is located very far away from the rest of the map, so the game detects that you've escaped Wiggum and just ends the mission. Thanks to these new strategies, on November 17th, Iguana was able to pull 2 minutes ahead of the record going into level 7, but he wasn't out of the woods yet. Remember, he was up against Mango's gold split here, and he was 100 coins shy, meaning he'd have to pick up extra coins before buying the zombie car. Despite a big lead, this was going to be close, and most importantly, Iguana had to avoid blowing up the waist.
What's up by that pole? Oh shit, that was close.
Of course, I hit myself twice in a row.
And what's more, both
I freaking hate this game sometimes, I swear.
Well, we have no idea what time this is. That could not even be close to world record.
Harder than it is.
Yeah, we did it! Finally.
Iguana was back, and he didn't stop there. A couple months later, he improved the record again, down to 1 hour and 45 minutes. The worst part of this run was missing the armored truck strat in 5-6, but he had a much cleaner level 6 and 7, and used a new strategy in 3-3 to let him repeatedly hit Cletus's truck. So yeah, Iguana and Mango were just trading this record back and forth. The game's 2 best competitors, rivals that would clash for years to come. And maybe they would have, if someone else didn't come along. In early 2015, a runner named Liquid Wi-Fi became a record contender. He'd started running the game a few months prior, and by February 2015 had managed to lower his time down to a 148, a bit behind the world record of 145. But on February 20th, he shocked the hit and run community by doing, well, this. Exiting level
By
3,
doing well
Liquid
this?
Wi-Fi was over a minute behind the world record.
Duh.
But that was a bit misleading. See, Liquid took a different coin route from most other runners. He chose to get more coins early in the run, so he didn't need to pick up as many in the later levels. So, he entered level 4 with a coin lead, and gained time by not having to pick up as many. By level 5, he was nearly even with the record. And although he too missed the armored truck strat, this was still barely on record pace going into level 7. But the missions started going well. He wasn't blowing up the waste, and this looked like it might actually have a chance.
I always freaking
But
don't
then
do this
during
puzzle
the
right.
last mission, on his way to pick up the waste, he triggered a hit and run. And that was a problem. See, he still had to pick up the waste, where you effectively corner yourself. If the police caught him there, it was likely run over. Liquid had to find a way to evade capture.
Holy f, I evaded them. Let's go. This is going to be seconds between me and world record. Oh my god, this is close. This is so close.
Bro, what the? Alright, let me pull up Winona's team.
Liquid Wi-Fi was the new hit and run record holder. It wasn't a huge improvement, but a very strong last couple levels was enough to get it done. On the other hand, Iguana had just lost his record.
Alright, she's got Swellow, Pelipper, Skarmory, and Altaria.
Iguana booted up the game, started playing.
So we could leave with camera up,
Few hours.
and then she'll switch out to Pelipper or
Next minute, a 144
Skarmory. She's probably gonna go up to
Seriously, it was yet another world record that
Skarmory.
missed the armored truck strat.
or
This
Pelipper.
time, thanks to
And
the
for
car
Pelipper,
getting in the way.
what could we do?
And
We
as
could
a
do
whole, it was a very up and down run. He got a few strategies that Liquid missed, like
Sharpedo
Smithers Car
maybe?
in 1-3, but there were still obvious times
Sharpedo
he
or
missed out on. Bottom line, Liquid and Iguana both knew they could do better, so they kept playing.
let me give the
Around
black
this
glasses
time,
to
Liquid began
Sharpedo here.
implementing a new piece of tech into his runs.
Let me
E-brake
give
boosting. Hit and Run has 3 main driving buttons: accelerate,
the
reverse, and
Mystic
e-brake.
Water to
By holding all 3 at once, then
You
letting go of reverse,
give
and
the soft
then letting
sand
go
to
of
you.
e-brake,
Actually, no,
you get a huge acceleration
Let
boost
me.
forward. This is particularly useful if you have to hit something over. In 3-3, for instance,
we have the Silk
when you
Scarf.
have to hit
Could we get that to
up
anyone?
like 15 items, you can see how e-brake boosting lets you get in more hits over time. Over the following few months,
We could try to
the big
do our
three
own
runners
double
hit all set
team
records.
strats, but
In late
it's
February,
really
Liquid
freaking
got a
risky because she's
142
she's got aerial lace on like all her Pokemon. Never mind.
In April, Mango got a 142.03, and in May, Iguana got a 140.49.
Oh, baby.
These guys were all about equal in skill, and with all 3 of them actively playing,
I wonder if we could do
the
facade
world
strats
record was
actually.
plummeting. Much of the time
With you.
came from the margins,
Get you poisoned?
rather than actual new strategies. Clean
I think that's what we'll do,
driving,
actually.
fast instructions, that sort of thing. Their overall skill level was rising.
I think this is the best
and
our best
nobody
option
was
actually.
sure where the ceiling
Let's do
was.
that.
So, who
And
would
we
come
can give you
through
the Silk
next?
Scarf.
Well, in November 2015, it
Or
was
Silk
Mango
Scarf.
setting a new world record. And this run has an important distinction. It was the first world record.
Yeah,
where
let's
load
go.
times
Let's do
were
that.
moved. See,
Let's go get
Mango has to
Swellow
load
poisoned real quick.
between missions, and this can take a
The only
variable amount
thing
of
is,
time.
I do have to
Depending on how
backtrack quite a
powerful
bit if
the
I want
runner's
to.
PC is, this can add up to multiple minutes of difference across the run.
Hmm.
So the community created the
Actually, there's,
load auto splitter.
There's an
It
Oddish.
detects when hit and run is loading and automatically pauses the timer.
Find Oddish here.
So when Mango beat Iguana's world record,
But
was
it needs to
initially
be
timed as a
poison,
140.41.
obviously, not
But using loads removed time, it was
not
a
paralysis.
140.05.
That doesn't count.
This run also featured another big new strategy, car despawning. By flicking the camera angle back and then forward, certain objects like cars and pedestrians despawn. This can move things out of your way, or more importantly, out of the way of an AI-controlled vehicle. They'll crash into fewer cars, saving you time on the speedrun overall. Mango's run lasted for 8 days, when the next member of the Big Three struck, Iguana, who
Poison.
got a
Okay, good. What we want.
138.35 and then a 138.03. It was a mix of faster execution and some strategy improvements. He had a new coin route, picking up more.
Make sure we don't die from the poison.
Car in Crusty Blue Studios. He destroyed vehicles, saved a lot of time in 6-. Picked up about 45 seconds and saved time on the armored truck and hit and destroy missions with cleaner overall.
Could not accidentally die outside of
It's exhausting to
battle.
keep track of everything that was happening, and these guys still weren't at their limits. Since 2014, it had been a three-way competition between Mango, Iguana, and Liquid for the Simpsons Hit and Run world record. They constantly traded it back and forth among
Be really
themselves,
careful.
but nobody else ever broke through to take it from them. They were the three best runners of the game by far, an exclusive club at the top with only 3
There we go.
members.
Okay.
The combination of new
Yeah, we're gonna do
strats
facade
was
strats.
the world record free
Is it kind of
finish
risky?
makes
Probably,
this a
but
tough timeline to
you know,
follow. But luckily
it is what
for
it
us,
is.
someone was about to come
The
along
only
and
Pokemon I'm
save
kind of
the
like
day.
really freaking terrified of is Altaria.
mid-2016,
Do we really have anything for Altaria?
crocodiles appeared
And
on
if
the
not,
scene.
should we?
He took
I think we should
one of our
like
3
save.
world holders and
I think we
stacked
should save Swellow for Altaria to deal with Altaria.
Over the course
So
of
maybe we want to
several
lead
months,
with.
Croc single-handedly took 5 minutes off the hit and run world
The only
record.
problem is leading with you is rough because Rockdale's not super accurate, and so we could. I feel like we could just snowball with double team. I think our best bet here is to lead with
Were
Camerupt.
there new strategies? Well, of course there were, and he used them to his
I think this is our best bet. All right, let's just do this.
In 1-7, Croc used Carl Skip. Instead of running over Carl, he simply reversed to the door and reset his car. The game's default reset point here is right
It
at the
leads with
door
Swellow.
entry,
Knew that
so
was
you
gonna happen.
respawn halfway past the door. You can then continue reversing.
Okay, I knew the double team was coming.
through. Faster and more consistent.
Gonna
than
heal
Carl
here,
Skip.
which I'm expecting.
Croc also switched vehicles.
We just have to hope to not miss, please, please,
In
please.
1-3, instead of using Homer
Okay, good, thank
Sedan,
you.
he used a traffic car that dealt
All right, I don't think she's gonna heal again. Let's go for Ember.
Or he switched out Mr. Plow.
Forgot about Endeavor. It's fine.
Another big one was in
We hit it?
4-1,
Good,
a
okay.
strat called Donut Fire. You're supposed to
Got the
hit
Swellow.
donut track
Next is
10
Pelipper.
times and collect the items. And the strategy here used
All right,
to be
let's
let
go
it
out
hit
to,
10 times. But instead, Croc began guiding
Go
it
out to
into the corner
Torpedo
and
here.
then hitting it over and over. This was both faster and much safer than the old strat. As you
I
get
realize
rid
won't do
of
too
RNG
much.
and
Okay,
traffic
yeah, we got
cars
rough skin too.
but Croc
Okay, let's go
saw
for
them as
Crunch here.
more than just new strats. It's also
Okay,
because he'd
fine.
raised the bar for his execution. See, Croc began by grinding individual.
Okay, we do get
levels
the
instead
Spadef
of
drop.
full game runs. He got
Of
good
course he
at it,
lands.
eventually
Sonic.
holding every IL record in the game.
All right, let's go out
This
to
was the mastery of each individual mission that
Let's go out to
nobody else
Mudkip.
he was able to pick up
Or not
minutes
Mudkip,
across the
Marshtomp.
run just from better driving. He slowed down less overall and took cleaner lines. Croc
Okay, let's go
lowered the
for
record
Surf
a
here.
lot in a short period of time. He'd pulled away from the runners behind him, and he was undoubtedly
Yeah, second
the
one
best
down.
player the game had ever seen.
Next is
Sadly,
Altaria,
a
probably.
few months
Or no,
after
Skarmory.
these
Okay.
runs, Croc disappeared.
Okay, let's just go for Surf
taking his
here.
channels and
And Tech's
videos
fine.
with him. Today, it's impossible to watch any of his records. It's really too
I was
bad,
hoping it would get him like.
because if he'd stuck around,
I was hoping it was gonna be a
he might have
3-shot.
been able to prevent what happened next.
Unfortunate. Okay, last one's Altaria.
In late May 2017,
Okay, we
someone
wanna go out
finally
to
broke through to take the record from Croc. Our
you.
old friend Liquid Wi-Fi. This was his first record in more than
This is
2
Dragon Dance.
years. His new time was 1.
Okay, and then we want to go for Facade here.
But in the description, he said
That should one shot. Awesome. All right, easy Winona, no deaths.
adding
Let's
up to
go.
at least a couple minutes of obvious time
Yeah,
saving.
Facade is broken, especially if, when it's stab.
For execution.
Facade is broken, especially when it's stab, and you got
One other thing Liquid said in the description, I think
a
sub
soap scarf.
130 is possible. Well, right around this time, Liquid Wi-Fi began streaming full time, playing Simpsons
There you go,
Hit and
nice.
Run for several hours every day.
Alrighty.
And he
Next
got
level cap's
so good
42, which is
that
forever.
he took over
now.
our story.
Alright guys, I'm going to go ahead and end the stream there. Made some good progress today. We beat Norman and we beat Winona. And got some encounters and stuff. But yeah, and no deaths. Very nice. Winona. Just beat Winona, no deaths. But I'm gonna go ahead and end here. I hope you guys have a great day, everyone, and I will see you guys very soon.